life could be a little bit different. That's when you probably gained some hope that things could be different.
Well, it got more painful though before it got
Yes.
better. But you're
Okay.
right. The hope kind of emerged out of that. It's kind of like you're a drowning person swimming all you can to keep your head above water, but somehow you see something that may give you hope of the shore, even though you're still swimming like crazy.
Right. Get it. I get it. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So then what? So then what happened? So you were going to leave the community. So that would mean leaving all your nephews and nieces.
Yes.
Was your father there too as well, or?
Yes.
Yeah, and your mom. Okay.
Yes.
So then what happened next?
Well, I zipped my lip and I didn't talk to anyone anymore about leaving because I knew if I would mention it, they would do everything in their power to convince me to stay because that's what they believed would be right for me. And I became this crazy woman that was, doing all these things of crying and, not knowing how to live, but moving forward. And so in the process, I made my confrontation and gave everybody a letter of understanding that I was now leaving. And I gave them a post office address where they could write to me. And I wrote to them occasionally from that post office. But I had total peace. I did not have any unforgiveness. I didn't want to hurt my mom. My mom was a good woman. There's nothing in me that wanted her to have to hurt like I knew she was going to, and she did. It was really, really hard on my mom. And my little
Do you
niece.
have brothers and sisters too, or?
I do. There's 8 of us.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Some of them were probably not as closely impacted as my mom, and most of them were not as closely impacted as my mom. And those 2 little nieces that I almost saw every day of their life, and they were 5 and 6 years old. Those were the 2 really, really hard breaks, almost like I grieved so much, Lorraine, after I left. I felt like if my family had all been physically wiped off the face of the earth, I couldn't have grieved anymore. It was an immense, like I cried more tears or just as many tears on the other side as I did before.
Right. Just devastating. Yeah.
It was devastating for me. But I knew that I needed to go. And I've never looked back and questioned whether I did the right thing or should I have not done it? Was I bad? Was I wrong? I did ask, I talked about that new internal guiding system, and I really put a lot of trust and confidence in that. And when I got on the other side of that exodus a couple days, I was like 10 o'clock in the morning, just completely oppressed, depressed, hurting like a ton of bricks, not wanting to get up and face the day. And I just laid there and I just kind of looked up and I said, God, was that really just me doing this? Did I really need to make this break and cause all this pain for my family? Because it's a couple days now and I know they're all devastated and a shock. And I just couldn't imagine what was happening behind me. But I heard a voice say, my child, I love you. And it was those moments where I would have those just reassurances that I wasn't alone, even though I was single and in so many ways I felt extremely alone. I knew I wasn't alone and I knew I was headed somewhere. I just didn't know where.
And how many years ago was that?
18 years ago.
18 years ago. And you never looked back I know you had, you felt for them, but you never ever looked back, or was there anything if you could do it again, you would do different, or?
Well, I told you that I went into isolation or kind of like made sure that I wasn't found for 9 months after I left, because not only would they have tried to stop me, they would have tried to convince me I needed to go back and that I was wrong. And I knew that if they had access to me, they might be able to do that.
Right.
Because there was such a strong desire for me to be there.
Right. I get it. Yeah.
And so for 9 months, I was pretty quiet in where I was. And isolation I think no matter where we're at in life, we can have $1 million in our checking account. We can have a family, have an issue of one thing in our life, and we can isolate ourselves in that. Whatever that issue is, it could be an addiction that we have, whether, whatever it would be, a pornography thing, but what do we have a tendency to do is isolate ourselves in that area rather than getting the help that we need. And I think that's what happened for me is in that moment, I was a prime candidate to become isolated. And I did. That would be the thing that I would do over is make sure that I'm not going to be isolated.
Right. I think that's a point well taken, that we can, it's not that we isolate ourselves in all areas, but if there is somewhere where we're isolating ourselves, then then we're being that's dangerous, because we can go down a hole. So after the 9-month period, then you started being more visible and coming out, correct?
I did, and I reunited with the family, and
you reunited. Okay, so
I did in a third party place, a mutual place. I didn't go back right away, but I do visit again, and I have over the years, and I got to be with my mom when she passed, and that was a very special moment 2 years ago. And so I'm very grateful for every possible connection that I can have with them, because I still care about my family. They were my family.
Yeah. So, okay. So we're almost out of time, but I wanted to ask you another question. How did you get the courage to make those big, huge changes? Because there's somebody out there in our audience that might they have to have a aha moment like you kind of did. And they have to have the courage to pick themselves out and get out of the situation where they're at. How do you get there? Where did you go inside of yourself to get that? Because some people feel hopeless. Where was your hope and where was your strength coming from?
Well, I probably don't have a very good recipe for that anybody wants to grab a hold of, but I had to become so uncomfortable where I was at that I needed some relief. And that seeking for relief started bringing relief, but it was a painful journey.
Yeah.
And I wish I could say we're all willing to make a change that is difficult without pain. And some people might be able to say, hey, I'm there. Let me go. I'm good. I'm ready to make this change. Good for you. And that's wonderful. Some people can have that. Other people go through a lot of pain before they finally say, I need some help.
Right.
Basically, it's having the courage to ask for help and ask the right people for help and keep looking till you find those right people who can help you, because they're out there. The right people are out there to help you. You just need to find them.
I love that. And I also love the thing that I've often thought of this expression, the pain, when you have the pain, when it becomes greater of the pain to change, you will suddenly want to change, because the pain is so bad inside of you. You have felt the pain so bad that you needed to do something. And so if you're out there and you're feeling that pain, let us tell you there is hope. And seeking mentors and opening your eyes, you will find it, because once our eyes are opened, it is amazing. So, Marian, in closing, I'd love you to tell our audience how they can reach you and the free gift that you are offering them today.
Thank you, Lorraine. I would love to do that. You can go to my website, marianmcspadden.com, or if it's easier to remember, everythingyouTry.com. And I have a free chapter that I wrote that you can download, and you can learn more about me and connect with me through email, or there is a connect with me link there. And if you know that you need to talk to somebody, I know how to make a journey. I know how to help other people become a guide. I don't make the journey for them. I become a guide to say, this is faster. And I'll help people get free faster with less pain.
Oh, I love that, Marian. So in closing, if you have any questions about my guest or my show, don't hesitate to go over to lorrainehoving.com. And I have one more question for our guest today. What do you believe, and the exciting thing is she's coming back next week, so I'm so excited. What do you believe, Marian, is the single most important character quality that produces resilience?
Well, I think having clarity is a big piece of it.
I love clarity. I haven't heard that one. Clarity, and why clarity?
When you have clarity, you're not like, you can just see clearly, you know where you're going. And that's one thing that helped me break free is I had that clarity piece that I got in my moment of downtime, whatever you want to call that little coma moment, that I was going. And that piece of clarity really carried me through.
That's amazing. So, Marian, I'm going to see you back next week, which I am so excited. And for our audience out there, remember, it is never too late. It's never too late to come to a point of clarity. It is never too late, as Marian has done, to break free, to go after your dreams. It is never, ever too late to live a life of purpose. It is just never too late, ever. Thank you, Marian, and we'll see you next week.